Hey everyone, it's Chris, Line Punch Forge. Yesterday we were forging, today we're faceting. So what I have, and I'm not going to take them out of the bag on camera just because they are relatively rare and they're precious, and they come from a local place called Ellensburg. I'm going to be throwing up some pictures here as I'm talking. Ellensburg Blue, a blue chalcedony that comes from central Washington, a place called Ellensburg, and the Teanaway basalt. Basalt, either way. So, good friend of mine, you may know her, Charity, Ghost Town Metalworks, has a custom job she's working on, and she needs a couple Ellensburg blues, faceted, rose cut to be exact. And believe it or not, a lot of faceters, they won't touch agate because it's, well, not facetable material. I don't think that's true, and so that's why when it comes down to unconventional faceting, something like that, I typically say yes because I'll do what I want. You're not the boss of me. Today, faceting Ellensburg blues, two of them right here in the bag. We've got some interesting problems we need to solve to begin with. First one being putting them on what's referred to as a dop stick. It's like one of these, and that'll hold the stone in place while I cut all the different facets. Now, since these are already roughly cut to a cabochon, I need to index that stone on the dop so that I don't lose a whole lot of material. And I thought a lot about it, and what I decided to do is use a kind of a triangle dop here. You can see it on the bottom. It's got a mouth on it. The cab is going to fit right into that mouth and kind of center it out, and then I'm able to take my other dop stick and center it right on that stone so that I can align it exactly as I want to align it, and that way I'm hopefully eliminating some waste on that stone, because like I said, they're not super common. In fact, Tiffany Jewelry carried a Ellensburg blue line for a little while. They're pretty awesome. What I'm going to do is put these little cabochons, pre-cut cabochons, they're high dome, and I'm going to put them onto a dop, and I'll let you come along for that. Alright, the next thing I need to do here is mount my stone into my faceting machine. So I have two stones. I'm going to pick which one I'm going to do first here. I think I'm going to do the lower dome one, the smaller one. I'll put him into the faceting machine, and I will go ahead and tighten up the collet on the back here. So that is like a draw collet. It will pull and tighten everything in the collet down onto the dop, and then I just kind of snug it in place, and now I have a stone. The next thing I want to do is figure out where I want my indexes. Basically, to start on, I'm on a 96 index wheel, so I've got 96 individual areas where I can facet my stone. So what I'm going to do is loosen this up just a little bit so I can move my stone around. So stone is about up and down, about straight up and down, and my wheel's set at 96, so now I can go ahead and tighten this down, and my first facet will be right where I want it. That way everything else around the stone will be cut around where that one index point is. Next thing I need to do is, since I'm not doing a full facet, I've got some playroom here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave some of this rounded cab area intact so it can be bezel set, and then I'm going to start my facets up a little bit higher. And then I need to decide what my facet angle is going to be for that. I'm going to take a look at what 45 degrees looks like. Okay, so I was going to go with 45 degrees, but I decided on 48 degrees to be the first cut, and then I'll go down angle-wise from there. That way I have a good, nice first cut. And what I'm going to do is, on my whiteboard next to my faceting machine, I'm going to write 48 degrees so that I remember that. And then I'm going to want to probably have 8 facets all the way around the stone. So I'm going to take 96, I'm going to divide that by 8, and I believe I have 12. I do. No, hang on. Math is bad. Yeah, 12. So my first cut is going to be at 12, 96, 12, 24, 36, 48, 60, 72, 84, and then back to 96. So those are going to be my faceting angles for the first one at 48 degrees. Alright, back here I have a faceting wheel. Let me bring my mast up so I'm not touching the stone. Lock that in place. And I have all of these indexes that I can change and lock into place depending on where I want the facets on the stone. Then I have the angular protractor here that allows me to change the angle. So I can change the index and I can change the angle. So the rotational cut and then the angle of that cut based on wherever the index is. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get this started. Make sure my drain tube is clear. I got my water starting to flow here. It's way too much. Just want a couple drip, drip, drip. Now is where I check to make sure all of my connections, screws are down, everything's nice and tight, and I start faceting. Turn this thing on. I have a 1000 grit diamond plate here. The reason I'm with 1000 is because I don't need to remove a lot of material. I just need to start forming some facets, and that'll do it just fine. So turn my machine on. Let's do this. Woo, this is the worst part. First cut. And then I inspect. Okay. We're down a little bit lower. And inspect. So right here I'm essentially just determining whether or not I like that angle, because I can change it at this point. I like 55 better. What about 52? I like 52 better. So I'm going to scratch off this 48 that I wrote up here and write 52. And now I'm going to work my way around the stone. 96 is cut, so next one is going to be 12. I don't want to cut too much. I want to make sure they're equal. One's got a little bit more. Now what I can do is take my Sharpie and I'll dry it off, color this in, and then that way I have a good visual inspection of how deep my cuts are and whether or not I need to go lower. I also have a magnifier, a loop here, that I can check. So I'm going to go ahead and one more cut here. I like that. Next one is going to be 24. That looks good for now. I'm going to move to the next one, which is 36. Looks okay for now. We'll move on to 48. all I'm doing right now is establishing that first cut, and then I can bring my cuts even. Looks okay. 60. Next one, 72. A little bit deeper. And the last one is 84 for this angle. Alright, now that I have that established, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys a close-up here. I'm going to spend some time and precision cut those a little bit with a loop. There's going to be a swipe on a wheel, and then a loop, and then a swipe on a wheel, and a loop. So I'm going to go ahead and get that done. I'll show you some along the way. Alright, so I've fixed on my second angle, which is going to be 26 degrees, which is half of the 52. Half of the other angle is going to be my second angle, and then each of the indexes is going to be split into half of what it was. So instead of 12, it's going to be 6. Instead of the next one being 24, it's going to be 18. So basically I subtracted 6 and then added 12. So each index will be at 6, 18, 30, 42, 54, 66, 78, and 90. So that's essentially what this second angle is going to be. I'm going to cut a little bit real light and then see what it looks like, and we'll see if I want to stay there. Make sure I'm at the right angle. Yep. Right angle, right index. Nice and tight. Cutting, let's see what that looks like. I like it. I'm not cutting too much before I inspect again. This process is a cut, inspect, cut, inspect. There isn't really a depth stop that I can cut, and then when I'm done cutting, I'm done cutting. It's a lot of inspection that goes into this. I'm doing a lot of double checking because it's easy to make a mistake, then you can't really put material back on the stone. So I see one that I need to deepen up a little bit. It looks like it's 30. Verify. Yeah, 30 degrees. Or index 30. Alright, I'm removing the 1200 grit lap. Place that over here to dry, and I'll wash it later. This is a polishing lap called a dark side. A guy by the name of Gear Loose John makes these, and they're absolutely amazing. So what I'm going to do now with this lap is I'm going to go through and I'm going to polish each one of those facets that I placed on the stone. And in doing that, I create a stone with a nice, beautiful kind of sheen to it. So right now, that 1000 grit or 1200 grit that I cut this with creates kind of a frosty look. This lap with a little bit of serenium oxide will create a nice polished look. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. bit of polishing. This is the second stone I'm working on. First one sitting right here. Beautiful little fella. Second one is still on the dop, still on the machine, and I'm about ready to finish polishing the last row of facets. So we'll go ahead and do that. Make sure we check our index gear and our angle, 52 degrees, 96, and then we're going to lower this down to touch. There you go. And then each time I'm going to lift it up, I'm going to inspect to see whether or not I can tell just by looking at it that I have some parts of the stone that are still kind of frosted, and that's what I'm looking to get away from, trying to polish that frosting out. Frosting. There we go. Moving it back and forth so that I don't create polished lines. The last thing I want is scratches or lines in there. So moving it back and forth like this allows me to better polish the surface. And grab some paper here. I think I have a few. Yeah, the bottom part of that facet still has some frosting. Water off. I like it. Go ahead and take this out.